beats the buzzer again. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to the Kevin Bannon Show. In his first home game of his college career, Jeff Billett beat the Monmouth Hawks 57-55. Last year, quarterfinals of the Big East Tournament, Billett goes into the lane for a runner and beats the Hoyas as Rutgers advances to the semifinals of the Big East Tournament for the first time. And this past weekend, Jeff Billett beat Notre Dame in South Bend, another buzzer beater. The recipient of all these great deeds, Coach Kevin Bannon. Nice to have this guy around, or what?
Nice to have seniors who are willing to take big shots and who have a knack for making big shots, and that's what Jeff Billett's all about.
Do you see his eyes light up with a game on the line?
He wants it. I mean, there's some players that probably don't want to do that. Jeff and I think his teammates have confidence. I have confidence, and Jeff wants the ball in big situations, and not a bad quality to have.
You want to see it again?
Love to see it again.
All right, let's go back to Rutgers in South Bend, taking on Notre Dame this past weekend, and Coach Dante Jones early on with a terrific move on the miss.
Yeah, Dante just shows all the things that he can do to help us win basketball games, coming in from the guard spot to get a tip dunk, and we got off to a nice start in this game.
Alvidas Tenise 2 for 2 off the bench, and Earl Johnson hitting from downtown. He's doing a nice job off the bench.
He really is. Earl's starting to play consistently good basketball. Right there, you see exactly what he brings to the table. He can hit a three, he can slash in the lane, and he was very solid. Gave us a big lift in the first half of this game.
Earl with 15 off the bench on 5 for 9 shooting. Here's Rutgers in transition. Again, Earl pulls up and buries it.
That's all started with a nice steal by Joel Salvi, who's giving us great minutes off the bench right now. Terrific defense and rebounding.
Coach, you were 7 for 15 from trifecta land.
Well, that always helps. You know, I think we have some good shooters. When we shoot the ball well from 3, other good things seem to happen for us.
And a good block before the half. Rutgers with the lead at intermission by a score of 39-35, and you can never get enough of this defensive looks.
No, that's, you know, Jeff Greer, again, does a lot like what Dante can do for us. Not only can play guard and do all those things, but he can also block shots.
Second half, Billett with 12 points in the ball game, and then good ball moving. Greer's got it.
Yeah, Jeff Greer's playing consistently good basketball. Over the last 5 or 6 games, he's averaging double figures, rebounding the basketball, just all-around floor game.
Heck, Ivan Inglesby kept them close, and it was a big factor in the second half. They came back, and Inglesby was firing up jumpers from everywhere, Coach.
Kid did a great job. I mean, he's not known for being a great scorer, and I think our defense put him in a position where he had to step up, and you got to give him credit. He did it.
Inglesby at 19 in the second half, and Tony Weiss goes hard to the hole. It's 70-70 with 8.2 seconds left, and then you go to the bench, you talk to your ball players, and what'd you design?
Get Jeff Billett the ball. That's what I designed.
That sounds pretty easy. Here it is, Coach. Just a magnificent play.
Well, Jeff made a good individual play, you know, for us, and you know, right there, you don't want to foul him, and they're staying away from him, and hey, the kid stepped up. Then he almost gets killed here, but he survived the tackle there.
Such a tough shot with Inglesby right in his face.
Yeah, Inglesby defended it well. I mean, it's just one of those things. He doesn't want to foul, and Jeff wants to get a soft shot up there.
All right, let's move on to Monday. Rutgers against Lafayette at the rack. Dante Jones hits the jumper. Lafayette came in with a record of 12-6, and you knew they were a quality ball club.
Oh, absolutely. They go out and lose by only a handful of points out of Purdue. They beat Princeton earlier in the year. We knew this was a good team, and we certainly hoped our guys realized that. I think it took them a long time to get playing the way we needed to play to get this win.
Yep, it was only 23-18 early, and on this next play, Greer missing, Rashad Kent with the putback.
Yeah, Rashad's back and healthy, and we're going to need him right now. This is a very key stretch for us, and if we don't have the inside-outside attack, we're not going to go very far in the league.
Good look by Billett to Dante.
Well, that was a set-up play after a little bit of a break, and Dante did a great job of running his lane, and we got it up there for him.
Billett had 16 points in the ball game, 12 in the second half, when you kind of broke out of a little bit of sluggishness.
Yeah, we struggle with them. They do some unique things, and our guys were just really not in sync. But then once we got a little on a 16-0 run, which really won the game for us.
And again from downtown, 7 for 17. Pretty good shooting, Coach.
Yeah, Rob Hodgson does a great job. Whenever people extend their defense, Rob's a great guy in the middle. He finds the open people. You just saw him do it twice, and both times Jeff Greer took advantage of it.
20 points for Dante Jones in the ball game in his last 2 games. 15 points, really shooting it well.
Yeah, that makes a difference because Dante's always going to slash well, but when he's shooting it from outside, he's a pretty hard guy to stop.
Mr. Consistency, Jeff Billett.
Yeah, absolutely. Hits the 3, makes everyone around him better.
Jeff career in double figures now in 8 of 9.
Yeah, and I love the almost 5 rebounds per game from the guard spot. We need that.
Earl Johnson doing a superb job off the bench. Productivity is a key with him.
Yeah, his assists and steals are up, and that's the kind of thing you need from a guy like Earl. You don't want the turnovers, you want the assists and steals.
All right, it's time for that segment of the show that the coach loves to go back. It's called Why It Worked, and we've already seen the play a couple of times. Now we'll find out exactly how it worked. It's Jeff Billett doing it at the buzzer against Notre Dame, and Why It Worked is brought to you by the Rutgers Court Club. Coach, take us through it again.
Well, again, you know, we're trying to get our best player and our best foul shooter some open space here to try to make something happen. You know that the other team doesn't really want to foul. And when you put it in Jeff's hands right there, he made a buzzer shot. But if he had to, I think he would have made a pass to an open three or to somebody inside. The first thing is getting in his hands. And we know that they don't want him to touch the ball. So we set up a little, you know, screening and a little movement. And that opens up the whole floor for Jeff to come up. And we either wanted it in his hands or Earl's hands coming up the court.
People don't realize that, Coach, sometimes the hardest thing to do is get the ball into the guy's hands.
Well, right here, if we don't get it in either of their hands, the whole thing's scrapped and somebody just has to make a play. So the kids do a good job of doing a little screening and opening the floor for Jeff. And then this is experience, really. I mean, Jeff sees the court. We tried to run a little screen on the weak side, but it didn't happen because they all stayed home, and Jeff read that. You know, they didn't go double team Jeff. They had to make a tough decision. We had 4 shooters in the game with Jeff. So the fact that they left him alone one-on-one with Inglesby, he made a great decision just to take it down there and see if he couldn't get fouled or score.
I love the fact you isolate the floor for him. My kids on Saturday morning always go to the same side of the court.
Chase the ball around the court. Yeah, well, it's taken time for our guys to learn that as well.
Why It Worked brought to you by the Rutgers Court Club. When you look back at that one, I bet you can't see it enough. Right?
No, it's great. You know, anytime a kid steps up and makes a big play and you see your team celebrate like that, it's important. You know, we've had a few close ones that got away from us. To win one of those is very important.
Couple of tough games ahead for the Scarlet Knights in Big East Conference play. We'll get to the conference slate and our preview when we come back. The Scarlet Knights of Rutgers have 2 Big East tests, one at home, one on the road. It all begins on Super Bowl Sunday. Ball game is at noon, so Coach Bannon hopes they come away with a victory, and then he can enjoy his nachos in peace. Otherwise, that Super Bowl is not going to be a fun game.
Absolutely. It's a big game for us. We look back at the West Virginia game out there. We really let a lead get away from us. It's the one blemish, you know, on our record. We have a chance for redemption now, and the timing is very, very important. You got to win your home games here on out, and steal a few on the road if you want to move up into that upper echelon of the Big East.
It was the most frustrating loss of the year for Rutgers. Let's take a look at the West Virginia Mountaineers, who headed to this ball game with the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers with a 9-11 record, 3-7 in conference play. It's at noon on Saturday at the Rack. Gail Catlett's been around for a long, long time, and his teams have been known for pressure and tenacity all the way through, Coach.
Absolutely. This is a talented bunch. None of them got significant minutes last year, or very few of them. So you're seeing a team that's a little bit inconsistent and a little bit inexperienced, but this is a team that's got a lot of talent, a lot of ability, and when they get on a roll, they're pretty hard to stop.
Nelton Scott had big numbers in his first meeting with you. He also had 8 steals against Villanova recently. He can play.
He really can. He's all over the place. He can score around the basket. He can step out and hit jumpers, and he's very good in transition. So one of the best players in the league. And Goree here, you see, I think he's a terrific pro prospect. He's a big-time power forward. He's really athletic. He can do some great things.
Chris Moss had a decent game against you the first time, 8 points and 6 boards.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of guys in their program that could get you for 8 to 15 points. They're relentless rebounders, and this is a real fiery team that at home you got to keep them under control.
By the way, one guy we're not going to see is freshman guard Lionel Armstead, who's coming off back-to-back 17-point games, and right now he figures into their attack.
Very much so. He's a key player for them. He stepped up recently, and you know, it's a total team effort. I think that's where this team's improved early on in the year, it was Scott and Gurry. Some other kids have come to the table now, and it's made them a better team.
So how do you get the W this time around? What are Kevin's keys for this game?
Well, I think first and foremost, whenever you play a West Virginia team, you've got to handle their pressure. Last game, we handled it all game long, and then we couldn't handle it in the last 4 minutes, and it got away from us. So that's number one. Number two, we've got to establish an inside-outside attack. That's so important to our success. We usually have some real nice weapons from the outside. Inside's been a little erratic, so we've got to take care of that. And then the last thing is contain Gorey and Scott. It's one of the best 1-2 combinations in the league. They're very different from each other, but if you concentrate on one, the other will kill you. So we've got to do a good job defensively on two great players.
Have you learned from the difficulties you encountered down the stretch there, squandering the lead?
Oh yeah, I think anytime you have an experience like that, you have to learn from it and move on. And I think we're a very much a different team from that point on. And this isn't a week to dwell on what didn't happen out there a month ago. It's a week to just continue to try to improve as a team, and the win will take care of itself if our kids play at the level they're capable of playing at.
Well, on Wednesday, Rutgers is at Villanova, second meeting of the year between the Scarlet Knights and the Wildcats. And this ball game at the Pavilion, 7:30. The Wildcats 15-6 right now, 6-5 in conference play. Rutgers won this game earlier this year on January 9th at the rack in a high-scoring game, 97-87. And in that game, you went to the foul line 50 times, Kevin.
Well, it was a wild game. We got off to such a good start, and we spent the rest of the night fighting them off. Brian Lynch had a fantastic game, couldn't miss for them. They got a lot of weapons. They got a nice team, and they can play at as high a level as just about anybody in our league, but sometimes they struggle just like ourselves. I think we're kind of similar teams in that respect. So they're one of the teams that we're really battling with to try to get into the postseason, so it's a very, very important game. We were able to get them at home. If you can go get a game like that on the road, it makes a big difference in your season.
Lynch was 12 for 17 in the first meeting. Howard Brown had 17 points. Two guys I know you want to stop. And then there's always John Celestin, who's kind of a diversified guy, can do a lot of things.
Yeah, he's having a good senior year for them. And when he scores and when he breaks you down defensively, it helps because people like Lynch and Brown and their inside guys get open looks. So we really think stopping Celestin, keeping him under control is a good key.
And what about Biggis in the battle of the boards?
Well, they have two big guys in Allen and Biggis, and when they're scoring, it's kind of like us with Rashad Kent and Alvidas. When we get an inside production, it just makes everything better. So, we've got to do a good job. We did a very good job on them the first time around. Yeah,
they had a good stretch recently. They went 4 in a row, and no player scored 20 in any of those games, which shows balance.
Definitely. I think that's a similar situation with our team. When we get that 4 or 5 guys in double figures, we're a very good team. When we rely on one person to have to score, that's not our thing, and that's not their thing either.
Well, coming up next, we'll talk to a superb freshman who is really fueling the Rutgers attack. Along Kane Jones. We'll get to that when we return in a moment. Well, he's been on fire lately, averaging 16.3 points per ball game over the last 6. He's a freshman from Steinert High School right here in New Jersey. Dante Jones joins us right now on the Kevin Bannon Show. Nice to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Dante, do you feel like you're gaining momentum, that you're really coming on as a ball player right now?
Yeah, right now I'm getting more comfortable with my role on the team, and I'm just finding opportunities to score and just try to help our team win.
Would you rather come off the bench or be a starter?
Well, I'd rather play no matter what. Coming off the bench was an adjustment because I had to know my role and just stay within it. Right now I'm starting, so I have more of an impact on the team. So starting is all right for me right now.
Kevin, is he really coming on in your opinion?
Definitely. I think, when you have a guy that's as talented as Dante and as bright as Dante, all they need is experience. And every minute of experience you start to see all the great things. He defends. He guards the best player usually in the perimeter. He's making his threes, and you saw earlier in the show he gets a tip dunk on an offensive rebound. He's had some big rebounding games, so that's his versatility. That's what he really brings to the table, is a kid that really has no weaknesses as a player, and he just needs experience.
Dante, do you think of these moves, or do you just intuitively do them?
Well, most of my actions on the court are just intuitive. I just do. I don't try and think much, because that's when you make a lot of mistakes. I just go with the flow and just react to the situations around me.
Do you know that when you're moving without the ball, Billett or somebody else is going to find you?
Well, Billett's a great player, and as our point guard, he sees the floor very well, so he's going to find you in positions that you need to get the ball.
You hope that, right? I mean,
always.
Always, yeah, okay. What do you think's been the biggest adjustment for you moving from high school to college?
Just adjusting to offenses and defenses and guarding the best player on the floor. Just going throughout their offense. We have great players in the Big East and in our conference schedule. So I just try to fit in and just be a force out there on the floor.
What do you think of the caliber of competition in the Big East?
The competition is great. You have a different player every night who could either go to the NBA or play at another high level of basketball. Just great players out there that I'm just trying to stick with.
Dante, you were highly recruited as a New Jersey athlete and decided to stay home. Do you feel like hopefully you will set the tone for future players to come to Rutgers that are in the Garden State?
Well, hopefully I tried to, because I saw what Rutgers had to offer, and it would have been crazy for me not to do what to turn it down. So I think players now are seeing what Rutgers has to offer, and they're seeing that the great coaching staff and just the environment, and they're signing.
Kevin, what kind of message does it send to other players around the state when you keep a kid like him home, a blue chipper?
Well, I think the key point is a young man like Dante, because Dante's a guy that visited Stanford. He could have gone to places like Virginia, Notre Dame, the best schools.
Oh, I love those places, Dante.
No, I don't. But, you know, the point is Dante had fantastic options. He's a phenomenal student, and when it's significant, it sends a message when a guy like this selects Rutgers, both as an institution to get his degree, but also our basketball program. If we surround ourselves with the Dante Joneses of New Jersey and the world, you know, we're going to go very far. It's
a nice compliment. Let's take a look at Dante's numbers so far this season, and they have picked up as he's gone along, over 10 points per ball game. He also is right up there, second on the team in steals with 24. You can see he can block shots, and lately he's been shooting the trifecta, 6 for 20 in the season. You think he'll be shooting more of them?
If they come, I'm shooting. It's just the opportunities that I got so far, and I'm just going to keep working day by day and just try to get better at it.
And they say you work in the summer on your jump shot, and it can come around. Do you feel that way about this year?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get better at it every day. The coaching staff's working with me, and they're just trying to help me improve as a player.
Well, it's been great to have you on the show, but unfortunately, you're not a part of the Hoop of the Week. You know what that is?
Nah,
Take a guess. It's going back to the ball game that we've talked about a lot. It is against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and it's his buddy, Jeff Billett, who is the Dunkin' Donuts Hoop of the Week participant. Kevin, I know you love to see this shot, but this is getting ridiculous for a coach's show.
Yeah, this is a bit much, okay? We'll watch it one more time, and then we'll put it away for a little while. Now, Jeff made a great individual move to get in here, and like I said, he was isolated, he did the right thing, he took a strong shot, and it's great to see your kids celebrate a nice road victory.
Dante, take us through this shot since we've talked about it 3 or 4 times.
Oh, wow. Jeff Billett's a great player, and we just try to get the ball to Jeff, and we tried to run off from screens, but Jeff just took the ball, and when I saw Jeff with the ball, I knew he was going to make a big play.
So there it is, the Dunkin' Donuts Hoop of the Week. Kevin, you've got to stop formatting this show. I mean, this is getting out of control.
It's great. It's just, you know, highlight after. By the way, are you mad that Jeff didn't throw you the ball in the last 5 seconds?
Nah, I know Jeff is going to make the play. I'd rather him have the ball right now.
You're happy the pressure is off you. We'll take a short business break. We'll come back. We'll look around the Big East and much more as the Kevin Bannon Show continues. There are still 8 teams in the Big East battling for probably 6 or 7 NCAA bids, led by, of course, the UConn Huskies, who are 18-0 overall, 10-0 in conference play. Right now, it's time for our trip around the Big East Conference. It's brought to you by New Jersey Transit. Here's Ken Henderson.
This past Saturday, the Providence Friars traveled out of conference to battle Nolan Richardson's Razorbacks. The last time the Friars played outside of the Big East, they were able to upset the Boilermakers of Purdue. And Saturday, Tim Welsh was hoping for the same kind of magic in Arkansas. Unfortunately for the Friars, the Razorbacks were the ones serving up one magical play after the other. Before you could blink, the Hogs were comfortably ahead, and they never looked back. Saturday night, the Hall threw a scare into the top-ranked Huskies of UConn. Seton Hall led by 2 at the half, but in the second half, the Huskies outscored the Pirates 33-16. In the process, UConn's Jim Calhoun became the winningest coach in the school's history with career win number 287. At the world's most famous arena, St. John's and Duke played one of the season's most memorable games. Luicci Thornton scored a career-high 40 for the Red Storm, and Ron Artest hit a three-pointer with just over a second left to force overtime. In OT, the second-ranked Blue Devils were able to survive, but not before the Johnnies earned a whole lot of respect. Elsewhere, the 20th-ranked Orangemen put a big-time hurting on the Gamecocks of South Carolina. The Orange blocked 13 shots and crushed the Gamecocks 84-37. Monday night, the Huskies visited the struggling Hoyas at the MCI Center. But for the second straight game, UConn trailed at the half. But Richard Hamilton's 27 helped keep Connecticut on track as they improved to 18-0 and 10-0 in the Big East Conference. Tuesday night, Providence used the trifecta to build a lead and then physical play inside to hold it. Jamel Thomas led the Friars with 20 points as they defeated the Wildcats 85-72. And that's our trip around the Big East.
And here's a look at the conference standings right now. St. John's with a big road win at Syracuse. Impressive the other night.
No, that's a great win. I think St. John's is really playing great basketball. They're so close to getting Duke, and they've done a fantastic job.
By the way, you're on the first page. Congratulations.
Well, we were hoping to get there, Bruce.
I know you were. And we talked about this stretch being a very important stretch because so many teams are jumbled, and you're right there right now.
Yeah, and I think we've made it through one of the more difficult points in our schedule, playing the elite teams in the league, and now a lot of the other teams are playing, and it'll balance out. The key is when you play the teams that you're grouped with and how well you do against those teams.
And you've got a couple of those coming up.
And that's exactly what the next 2-3 weeks are all about for us.
All right, we'll take a short business break. Back with some final thoughts on the Kevin Bannon Show in just a moment. Wins since 1975-76. And Kevin, that year the Scarlet Knights went to the Final Four. Am I putting the horns on you?
Expectations are getting a little high here. No, but if we are fortunate enough to win the West Virginia game, we have last year's win total before we even get out of January. And our kids are really excited about that and where that could lead us. It's about playing well, consistently well at this time of year.
Do you like the fact that your starters are averaging between 9.3 and 13.4? Everybody is there?
It's the way our team needs to be for us to be as good as we can be. It's got to be a total team effort.
Good luck this week, Coach.
Thank you.
That's it for the Kevin Bannon Show. We'll see you next week, everybody.
For Rob Hodgson of Rutgers, he scored 31 points on 11 for 11 shooting, including 6 of 6 from three-point land. Man, this guy was in a total zone. Everything he fired up found nothing but the bottom of the net. Rutgers led West Virginia by 27 at the half. They win 87-61, and at last word, Hodgson is still firing up three-pointers. Other local college hoops.
It's Rutgers. It was all Rob Hodgson. He went to Indiana, by the way, 11 of 11 and 6 of 6 from three-point range, and suddenly now Rutgers is facing the tournament.
Well, Rutgers and Villanova are fighting to see who is the 5th best team. We see Miami, we see Connecticut, Syracuse, St. John's, but both wins today for Rutgers as well as Villanova yesterday keep those teams in the hunt.
All right, for Hodgson, 11 of 11. That ties the Big East record, as does 6 of 6 from 3. Reminder, next Saturday.
Alexi Lawless, inducted into the Rutgers Hall of Fame, and he sings the national anthem. Rutgers up 10-4 early in this one. Scarlet Knights get the steal. Jeff Billett to Earl Johnson. Misses the lay-in, but Joel Salvi converts. Then Rob Hodgson takes over the game. Takes the pass outside, hits for 3. 21 at the half for Hodgson. Second half, more from him. Once again from way outside. He finishes a perfect day with 31 points as Rutgers wins it going away 87-61. Hodgson breaks his scoring slump with a career-high 31 points. Rutgers wins its 4th straight, moves into 4th place now in the Big East.
81-67. Hodgson with 31 points in the outing. Take a look at some of the highlights. Oh, what the heck. Why not get some three-pointers in here? Hodgson perfect from everywhere in the field. Even three-point range. Yes, he was 6 for 6. Here's 3 of them right here early on in the first half. Rutgers, as you can see, with the big lead at intermission. Then some fine passing. Billett with the nice cross-court pass. And the little bank shot there. 2 more for the Scarlet Knights as they were rolling all afternoon long. But in the key moments, it was Hodgson with long balls, 3 balls. Like we said, 6 for 6 from 3-point range in this ball game. Even cleaning up a miss here. They get it back. Hodgson says, all right, I'll try it from right here. And another 3-ball, 31 points. An excellent afternoon, a perfect afternoon for Rutgers' Rod Hodgson. 2 other games out why New Jersey.
Men and women, they can't live by just football alone on this day. We've got college hoops, and we've got plenty of it. We're going to start at the rack. Rutgers hosting West Virginia. And I got to tell you, the national anthem, really unique today, sung by soccer star and Rutgers alum Alexei Lawless. Got everyone fired up, including Rod Hodgson, a career-high 31. Hodgson finished with 6 3-pointers. Billy Collins kicks it out to him right there. 1, 2, oh, it's another 3. Rutgers improves to 14-6. Now they are in 4th place in the Big East with an 87-61 blowout over West Virginia. Well, on to the tennis court.
Game in baseball. But how about college basketball? It happened today. Rutgers and West Virginia. Kevin Bannon's team making a serious run for the NCAA Tournament. First half, Jeff Billett finds the cutting Rod Hodgson, who makes the layup. Scarlet Knights take an early 5-0 lead. Still in the first, more Hodgson. This time going baseline for the reverse. Rutgers led at the half, 51-24. Second half, Hodgson continues that hot shooting, nailing the 3, putting Rutgers up 26. They go on to win 87-61. Hodgson finished with 31 points, 11 for 11 from the field, 3 for 3 from the free throw line, and 6 for 6 from three-point land. A perfect game. Rutgers improves to 14-6 and 6-4 in the Big East Conference. The best finish.
They went right. I mean, everything. Rob Hodgson did today for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Against West Virginia, the 6'7 senior gets the pass and lays it in. A drive to the hoop and the foul. Hodgson heating up. The pretty reverse move by number 45. Next, he finishes off the fast break to make it 4 for 4. Time for a long 3. Nothing but net, 12 points already. Then another trifecta. One more bomb from downtown. And he finishes the half with another swish. 21 points, no misses. In the second half, he picks up where he left off. His 10th shot, the same result. And he finishes in style, another 3, 11 for 11 for the game, 6 for 6 from three-point land, a career-high 31 points, and a blowout win for Rutgers, 87-61. In the Atlantic 10.
Now nothing but the bottom of the net. Rutgers led West Virginia by 27 at the half, and they win 87-61. At last word, he is still firing up 3s. Other local college.
And it was also a Super Sunday for Rutgers. They whip West Virginia, and they welcome back one of their own, Alexei Lawless. He played soccer for the Knights, but he can sing, too. He's got a CD if you're interested. Notice the shirt says Kansas City. Alexei was traded there the other day. Rutgers wouldn't want to trade Rob Hodgson. Did he ever have the 3-ball locked in? From the left side. Then from the top. And why run in for the layup when you can just launch one? He finished the half with 3 3-balls. He hadn't missed a shot all game, so why not fire one from the parking lot? That goes to 11 for 11. Hodgson a career-high 31 points. Rutgers routs him 87-61. And finally,
you would think it, you know. 3 squad. Hey, Coach.
Rebound.
Guess what? Tonight, a long time ago.
East for several years. You know, you looked at the Atlantic 10, you looked at the Big East. Atlantic 10 was charging, Big East was falling off. I think this year the Big East bounced back pretty nicely with a chance of 6 schools going to the dance.
Yeah, you know, and that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because right now I think you have 7 sort of on the in contention.
You really have 8 contending for 6 or 8 for 5.
Yeah, it's 8 to me. It's stretching it just a little bit. You have the top. Yeah, well, you have the top 3. You have Connecticut, St. John's, and Miami. I think will probably get bids. Then in the next tier, to me, you have Rutgers, which is 14-6. You have Villanova. You have Providence, and you have Syracuse. I think Syracuse.
So Seton Hall has kind of dropped out of there.
They lost tonight. They're 5-7 in the league. They're 11-10 overall. They have 7 games left. They have 1 with Connecticut, so they're going to have another loss. You know, they have a big game with Rutgers. That's going to be an emotional game, even though it's at Seton Hall at the Continental Arena. I think that's tough. I don't know if they have those 5 or 6 wins in the last 7 to make that kind of run.
This UConn game last night was a shocker. We saw UConn this weekend. They looked very good, and then they lose Jake Voskuhl. They lose Richard Hamilton for a game. And I'll tell you, they'd been kind of on the brink the last 2 weeks. They did not play some great ball games and survive. I didn't expect them to lose by 15, 16.
Well, yeah, that was the shocker to me. I mean, I had covered the St. John's Connecticut game at the Garden on Saturday. And they've been flirting with this, you know, with this first defeat for a while. I guess the 4 straight games, including St. John's, they've been behind at halftime. You know, they were down 12 to St. John's in the second half. But, you know, losing Hamilton obviously is huge. I agree with you. The shock to me is that they lost. They lost 59-42, scoring 42 points at home and then losing by 17 at home. You know, yeah, Voskuhl and Hamilton are out. They have some pretty good players, you know, to step in, guys that a lot of teams in the Big East would like to have. And to think that they were held to 42 and lose by 17 at home, that surprised me.
It was scary. All right, coming up, we'll talk a little bit about Rutgers hoops, and particularly about the ball game that Rob Hodgson had on this past weekend. An unbelievable performance on Sunday. He was Mr. Perfect. We'll get to that when we come back. He is in the studio talking college basketball, talking a little college football. And what about the ball game Rob Hodgson had on Sunday against West Virginia? Scarlet Knights winning that ball game by 26. Hodgson was absolutely perfect. 11 for 11, 6 for 6 from downtown, 3 for 3 from the line. Tommy, that's some kind of line.
You know what was amazing about it, too, Bruce, is it came out of nowhere. The guy was, the previous game against Lafayette, he was 1 for 4. Kevin Bannon didn't start him in the second half. And what happened was Rob stayed at the very end. It's a 20-point game. Rob's playing with all the scrubs, basically, at garbage time. Got his first field goal with 1:08 left against Lafayette in a 20-point game. Then he comes out and does this, which was it was kind of remarkable because he hit some good shots like the one you just see right there.
Roll.
And, you know, to keep doing it the way he did, he only took, people forget, he only took 3 shots in the second half. It wasn't like he didn't get them in the context of the game or the flow of the game. He did absolutely. Rutgers was up 27 in the first half. He was 8 for 8 and didn't force. I don't think he forced 1 shot. That's what was amazing.
See, that's what's so nice. A guy like that, within the context of the game,
no question.
Very coachable young man.
And the other thing is, you know, I mean, if he was going for, he could have easily gotten 40 if he decided to shoot in the second half. But like I say, 3 shots in the second half. That was it.
So Rutgers is now 14-6 and very much in the race, but 2 tough road games this week, right?
Oh, these are huge games, as a matter of fact. They're at Villanova tomorrow night, and then they're at Providence on Sunday. The way I have it figured, they have 8 games left. I think if they go 4-4 in the final 8, it puts them at 18-10 and 10-8 in the league, and it puts them right on the bubble.
Got to win 1 game in the tournament.
That probably does. Although their RPI is pretty good. It's 33 today, which is of those 4 teams that we talked about clustered together, the Syracuse, Villanova, Rutgers, and Providence. Rutgers does have the highest RPI of those 4. So that helps a little bit. But, yeah, if they could get a road game this week, and I'm not sure that they will, but if they can,
take some pressure off.
They're really in good shape.
All right, let's open up the phone lines at 1-877-CN8 Live, and we open up things with Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
How you doing, Bruce?
What's going on?
I just wanted to say something about Ron Artest.
Okay.
Last year, you know, he had a great freshman year, but it seemed like he sort of forced a lot of shots and he tried to do too much. This year, he's playing so in the flow of the offense.
I agree.
And his scoring's down, but everything else is up, and he's making everybody around him better.
I'll tell you, he is such an unselfish player out there.
No question. And the thing that you like about him, if you watch, you know, he dominates a game by scoring 12 points. And there aren't a lot of guys that can do that because he rebounds, he passes, he's a smart player.
He's got the body.
You know, he just does so many different things. I agree. You know, if Richard Hamilton is out for a while, and they don't think he will be, Artest is the next guy for Player of the Year in the Big East.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's between those 2 right now.
I was at the Rutgers game, and it was like, I looked up at the end of the game, and it said, Ron Artest had 25 points, and I said, where? You know what I mean? It was just like, they were
right, he is that kind of player. It's kind of funny. He'll do that in terms of, he'll do the same thing with assists. He seems to flirt with a triple-double almost every game. because he can rebound. He's such a good passer, and he's going to get 12, 14, 15, 16 points every game. So
the two things I really like about him also, very emotional, and number two, he just wants the ball in his hands down the stretch. This guy's got a big heart,
And very unusual for a sophomore, too, because although, this is his team this year. I think he deferred a little bit to Felipe and Zendon last year, the two seniors, and played more of a, sort of a subordinate role and didn't get to show what he can do. And this year, I think this is his team.
But the thing about him was he made some big shots even last year, which goes to show that this is the kind of mentality he has, and he's fun to watch. And St. John's certainly has had an exceptional year. The change to Jarvis has to be a candidate for Coach of the Year, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would think in the league, still almost half the season to go. But yeah, he's got to be up there. I think if Connecticut had gone and beaten Calhoun, would obviously got a lot of support.
I think Bannon, yep.
I agree with you. Kevin Bannon's done a good job. They were picked 8th preseason. I picked them a little bit higher, which Kevin wasn't happy about. But, they're right there. They're in 4th right now. So they're in sole possession of 4th. Let's see what they do this week. The road in the Big East is so tough.
It is. And, it's similar to the road in the Big Ten. You just don't win games on the road in that league.
And the thing is, and with Rutgers sitting where they are right now, they get one of these road games, they're really in good position going into the last 6 games of the season. They have 3 home games. They have BC, Pitt, and Georgetown at home. They should get those. They have at Seton Hall. And like I said, Seton Hall's slumping right now. 5 in a row they've lost. They could get that. They're probably not going to get Connecticut, and they play at Miami. So if they get one of these road wins and they go into the Big East Tournament 19 wins, they're in pretty good shape.
Because that truncated pyramid known as the RAC right now is very friendly to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Mike in Plainsboro. Good evening, Michael.
Hey, Bruce. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. I got a basketball question and a football question for you, if I could.
Okay.
First of all, my basketball question is, Tom, if you're an NBA GM, do you take a shot at Rob Hodgson?
He's certainly going to do everything you want him to do. Is he? Yeah, I take a shot at him because, the kid is such a hard worker. He's such a smart player. Is he an NBA player? I don't think so.
He's not physically gifted, Michael, but he does a lot of things, almost like a coach's son.
Yeah,
he's
he
smart.
Is a
He
coach's
makes.
son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
he makes plays. He hits shots. He's improved, I think, in the last year. But if not, he's going to end up somewhere either on Wall Street doing very well, or
well, Rob has said. I mean, the guy. I think he has.
He's in grad school already.
Yeah,
right?
He's got several degrees. He speaks several languages. He's already said he wants to go overseas to play. If
I think that would be a good match.
Oh yeah, he still wants to play after college. He said that, stated it on several occasions. So he'll go overseas probably. I'm not sure if he's an NBA caliber player. I think he's a very solid college player. The thing about it, I know you have a football question, but you'd like to see a guy with his kind of skills do more than wait until his senior year to get his 31 points. He had only as high as coming into this game as 4 years at Rutgers was 22.
Right.
See, he's almost unselfish to a fault. That's part of his problem.
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, my football is actually a comment. I think last time you were on, you said.
Columnist Tom Luicci from the Star-Ledger here in the studio tonight. Our phone number is 1-877-CN8-LIVE. We've got a lot of calls. We'd like to get to as many as possible. Let's begin with Sean in Springfield. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Bruce. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. A quick question about what you thought about the Syracuse-UConn game.
Well, we both were surprised that it was such a blowout. I think Syracuse has been the one team that has underachieved in the league, and I believe that this team is extremely dangerous later in the season, the type of team that could surprise and even win the whole Big East tournament.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, they have 3 of the better starters in the league. They're solid. As we mentioned about the only thing that bothers me about the Syracuse-UConn game, when a team's unbeaten and they're number 1 in the country, that's not the way you want to see them lose.
Right.
Go get beat. Don't lose 2 of your starters and the best player in the league and then, lose at home by 17. That's the only thing that bothers me. I mean, if UConn's going to go down and Syracuse is going to beat them, fine. I just would like to see UConn lose instead of losing that way. That's the only thing that bothers me. Not get blown out. But Syracuse played well. Hey, anytime you go into UConn, whether Hamilton's playing or not, it's a good win.
31 in a row. They had one at home. And, Jason Hart's a good player, as you mentioned. Eton Thomas is a quality player.
Blackwell's solid.
Yeah, Syracuse is a solid team, but here's Alan Griffin pulling up for the jumper.
Well, that's one thing. They have a little bit more bench than they normally do. Boeheim is not a guy for generally going deeper than 6 or 7, and this year I think they can go 8.
And I'm a little disappointed UConn and looking at their record right now, thinking that they're 7-5 in league, 16-6. This is a team that lost the Carrier Classic for the first time this year. It's not been a beautiful season.
They have been very inconsistent, but I think something like the Connecticut game, especially being on the road, could get them started. They're right there, so they're in pretty good shape.
Todd and Ewing. Hello, Todd. Todd, are you there? Todd?
Hi, Bruce. How you doing?
Good. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Tom.
All right, Todd.
How are you?
Good.
First and foremost, I want to say that my prayers go out to Walter Payton and his family.
Okay.
The question is for both of you. Ralph Willard's leaving University of Pittsburgh at the end of the season. Do you guys think that Paul Hewitt, who's now the basketball coach up at Siena, who was a finalist for St. John's, will be interviewed or even looked at as a possibility, or do you think they're looking more towards a marquee name like Fran Fraschilla, who's now been out 2 years?
I think you've touched on a couple of names right there, and Tom, you brought up another name earlier, a former Pitt player.
Sean Miller, I heard his name kicked around. But, until this actually became official, which it just did recently, you really can't start looking around and finding out information about who might replace the guy. Now I think you can do it because he's officially announced his resignation. I've always been one that, until a guy is actually fired or announces he's going to resign, I don't like speculating on rumors.
Why would you do it with 8 games left, though?
The only thing I can think of.
Pressure there?
The only thing I can think of, that was just a case of bad karma, because I think the guy is a good coach. I think he's an excellent recruiter, and for whatever reason, it didn't work there. He always had some kind of personnel problem every single year. My guess would be, and I don't have any inside information because I haven't checked it out, my guess would be that they negotiated some kind of settlement. So they may have gone to him and said, listen, Ralph, instead of us firing you at the end of the year, you want to go out with your resignation. This way it gives you a little time. And Ralph has a lot of good connections in the NBA. I wouldn't be surprised to see him land on his feet.
I saw him with the Knicks. He was a Pitino assistant. He went to Western Kentucky, moderate success there, and unfortunately fell into a bad situation
here. He's a good basketball man.
Yep, he's a good number 2 guy. TJ in Cranford. TJ, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Cranberry. Hello, Bob.
Bruce, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Tom, how are you?
Good, Bob, how are you?
Good. I want to talk about the Northeast Conference and St. Francis.
They have a history of getting some pretty good athletes. So I happen to like, that's one of the unusual campus settings in the entire Big East.
It's kind of fun to get there. It's not easy. You go to Geralman and you make a right, and then you go make a left, and you go past the campus.
Well, there's very good cheesecake there,
They
have a great atmosphere there. I love that atmosphere there. But
and Midland's a good player.
I think
he really is.
Yeah, I think they'll open it. I think, and I'm talking about Pittsburgh. I think they'll open a Pittsburgh job, for at least a national search. I think they may want to go that route. They made a good choice, I think, in football. So they may go that kind of thing. Maybe a guy on the rise. Walt Harris, I thought was a good choice for them.
And a lot of times you look at a guy in the NCAA tournament that makes it to the Sweet 16 from an unknown program. The way we saw it a couple years ago with Dick Bennett in Wisconsin Green Bay. You make your name in that tournament if you get in and you win one or two ball games. Matt in Belleville. Hi, Matt.
How you doing, Bruce?
How you doing?
Good. I just want to ask you what you thought about Rutgers this year and about their incoming class next year.
We're talking hoops?
Yeah, basketball.
I think that they've done a very good job this year. Tommy knows their season. He's been with them the whole way. I'm impressed with what they've done with the talent that they have. I think they've certainly achieved. And as far as next year goes, I think that Todd Billett's got the potential to be a terrific guard. Put him with Dante Jones. Could that be the best backcourt in the league?
It'll be one of them. I tell you what, it's going to be one of them. Todd is very athletic. Different kind of player than Jeff. Not the same kind of player. I happen to like Jeff's heart and guts and, ability to get every ounce of talent out of what he has. But Todd's a different kind of player. Maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more athletic.
More of a point guard?
Yeah, a scoring point guard, which Kevin Bannon really likes. He's always said he likes scoring point guards. They need to get bigger up front, which they did with Josh Moore and Kareem Wright. Kareem Wright's 6'9.5", 310. He's having a pretty solid season at Mercersburg, double figures in points and rebounds.
Sean Exani, another kid?
Yeah, and Sean Exani is going to be, I think from what everybody says, a Rob Hodgson type. Smart kid, tough kid, can do a lot of things around the basket, a 3-4 kind of guy, 6'7". So, I think they addressed a lot of needs. They obviously need a point guard next year. Billett will probably start as a freshman. I imagine he would. Earl Johnson backs him up. Like you said, Dante. Then you have Rashad Kent in the front court with Jeff Greer, and it'll be interesting to see who gets that other position, whether it's Kareem Wright, Josh Moore, if he's eligible, we don't know about that yet. Eugene Dabney, who's been injured this year.
And Kevin really likes him.
Yeah.
He thinks of him as an Eddie Pinckney type.
Does he come back? Right, and he is that kind. He's sort of built like Eddie Pinckney too. Does he come back from the knee surgery and make an impact in the front court?
And Rashad Kent certainly can continue to improve. John in East Brunswick. Hi, John.
Yeah, how you doing, Bruce and Tom?
Good. How you doing, John?
Pretty good, pretty good. I have a couple questions for you about Rutgers basketball.
Okay.
Number one, Josh Moore. Have you heard anything on him? I heard that he's really not making the grade in high school. I was wondering if you can tell me, what his status is.
Well, I haven't checked recently, but the last time I checked, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but he was doing well in school, but he apparently needed quite a bit of
credits.
Well, quite a ways to go on the core, on the GPA. Apparently, he's okay with the score, but he needs the core, and if he doesn't get the core, he's a complete non-qualifier, which means he can't practice with the team next year.
Right.
If you're a partial qualifier, if you get the core but not the scores, you can at least practice with the team. You're not eligible to play. But if he doesn't get this core, doesn't bring it up to whatever he needs it, I'm not sure exactly what it is, where he is, but they said he had quite a ways to go, but that he was doing well. I think the most disappointing thing, he's doing well in the classroom. Surprisingly, he doesn't seem to be doing that well on the court.
Right, really?
So, let's say, I don't know that they're counting on him for next year. Again, they got Kareem Wright. He's ready. He's set to come in. He's got a Big East body at 6'9½", 310, and Dabney coming back. So they're okay in the front court. They could do a year without Josh.
Interesting. A couple other questions for you. About inconsistent play of individual players. We all know Rob Hodgson had a great game on Sunday. And even Earl Johnson, it seems that sometimes they're in the game and they're playing unbelievable, then others they just disappear.
I think it's a fair point, but Earl started a little bit slow, and he's done a pretty good job adapting to a different role coming off the bench.
Right.
And Jeff Greer, if you want to talk about inconsistency, he started the year poorly. He's really coming on now. He's starting to gather himself. He might be the best athlete in this team.
Yeah, well, Dante is probably the best athlete in the program, maybe at Rutgers University. But, the one thing is...
An all-around player might be a better term.
Yeah,
for Jeff Greer.
right. Just a couple of things here. If you want to, harp on the inconsistency of like Billett and Hodgson, that's fine because they're seniors. But I think Dante, Rashad Kent are freshmen. They're going to be inconsistent. If people forget because he's been around, it seems like forever. Jeff Greer is only a sophomore. So he's going to be still a little bit inconsistent. So you have some inconsistency there. This is not a top 20 team with guys that are top 50 recruits yet. I think Kevin will get them to that point. So you're going to get inconsistent play. That's why they're 14-6 and 6-4 and still in the bubble. They're not getting that consistent play. But again, they're young.
I think they're at the point where they've almost got to play at a high level. There's not a lot of margin for error where when you've got great athletes in a program, like at Cincinnati, you can get away from it.
Well,
get away, for a game.
Not to defend him, but how many teams are flirting with the NCAA tournament starting 2 freshmen and a sophomore?
Not many.
Which is what they're doing.
Yep. Good point. All right, we'll take a short break. More coming up with Tom Luicci. We've still got some time to take your phone calls, so give us a shout at 1-877-CN8-LIVE.
And that's good news for Terry Shea. A big one for the Rutgers basketball team tonight as they play at Villanova. The Knights begin the final month of the season tonight. An NCAA tournament bid is theirs for the taking. They got to keep winning, though. Seton Hall just...
Perfect game, a near-perfect ending. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to the Kevin Bannon Show. Things are never dull in the Big East Conference, especially if you're the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. First, Rob Hodgson pulls his best David Wells imitation against West Virginia. And then the Scarlet Knights spot Villanova, an 18-point lead, rally, but fall short. And, Coach, now I know why your stomach was all messed up early in the season. In this league, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, we're a young team, and I think we've played good basketball lately, but Villanova's playing at a high level right now, and you can't spot them 18 points and think you're going to get away with a win.
All right, let's take a look back at the week that was. Begin with the game against West Virginia, and this was the Rob Hodgson Show. Coach, there have been some great individual performances in the history of Rutgers basketball. This has to be right up there with them.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was great. Rob Hodgson deserves it because of how hard he works, and he did it in a lot of ways. Obviously, he shot the three well, but he did it around the basket and just had a great overall floor game for us, as did the other players.
You guys came out really sharp, Coach.
Yeah, it was our defense early in the game, I think, that really set the tone. You want to take care of business on your home court, and boy, we were real active. You see Joel Salvi getting a deflection, and when you get that, you get transition, like right here, and you know, good start for us.
I like the fact that Salvi started that play and then finished it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the best things he does, is run the court well and his activity, and you could see what he's all about just on that play.
Rob Hodgson starting to warm up and doing it from every conceivable angle.
Well, you see there Rob's, you know, great drive to the basket. He hit some deep threes in this game, but again, he did it, you know, in a variety of ways.
Here's more Rutgers defense, and again, it translates to a nice move and an easy hoop.
Well, there's Dante getting out in transition. Earl Johnson, who's been playing very well of late, finds him in transition. And here's Rob. You know, boy, when he got hot, we just kept trying to find him.
Three, and another three before the half.
Yeah, the kids did a good job. When we knew Rob had the hot hand, I mean, everybody did a great job. Always off our defense, getting a little transition and looking for Rob in the open court.
Hodgson at 21 at the half, did not miss a shot, and in the second half picked up where he left off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was an NBA three there.
That was long.
Hey, when you got that confidence, let it go.
63-37. Hodgson still perfect in the ball game. Earl had a nice game, 10 points.
He did. Earl's playing good basketball for us. He really knows his role now. He's playing very quick and doing a good job of scoring when he needs to and then getting everyone else involved.
And there's the perfect game for Hodgson. 11 for 11 from the field, 6 for 6 from three-point land, 87-61 Rutgers. Now Wednesday at Villanova, and it was an early play by Howard Brown that gave him 1,000 points for his career. And, Coach, you talked about the poor start. You were down 20-10 before you turned around.
Absolutely. This is a team that's been really playing and shooting at a high level. They're playing with great confidence, and we knew we had to start the game with good defense, and we just didn't do that. They got a lot of open looks early, and we just dug a hole for ourselves that we almost got out of, but didn't quite get out of.
Pretty baseline move here by Earl.
Yeah, Earl's, again, picking his spots well. I think he's done such a good job with his shot selection. And there's Dante, who had a huge night for us.
Dante finished the game with 24 points, but Rutgers playing catch-up. They were down by 18. I thought you did a solid job here late in the first half.
Yeah, I think, you know, once we got things under control, Billy Collins and Earl gave us good minutes off the bench. And the last 8 minutes of the half and the whole second half, I thought we were terrific. But just so hard to come back against a team that's playing as well as Villanova is right now.
Rutgers went into the locker room down 9 in the second half. Hodgson hits a three. This a part of a 10-0 run. Jones with a three. Jones actually had 11 points in a 2-minute stretch.
Yeah, he shows all the things he can do. He's a great foul shooter, gets to the rim, hit a three. I mean, this is Dante's game. That's why he's going to be a great Big East player.
Tough move by Hodgson on the baseline at 77-73. And here come the Scarlet Knights, and a great move by Greer.
It's nice to see Jeff Greer get in there and slash like that, make his foul shots, and that's what he brings to the table for us.
Now Rutgers down 3, a minute 30 left, and no foul, Kevin?
No foul. What does the guy have to do there? I mean, that was ridiculous. You're 1 or 2 minutes in the game, and that's a no call. I feel bad for our kids.
And that last pass, a little bit of a killer, huh?
Yeah, that hurts, you know, because we did have Jeff Greer freed up for an open three, and we'll never know whether that would have gone down and tied the game or what would have happened. It's a shame.
84-78 Villanova, the final. Here's a look at Hodgson's numbers from West Virginia. What can you say? A game for the ages.
Well, happy for Rob, and one of the things that I'll always remember about this season is the ovation when he came out. You know, well-deserved.
Dante Jones, a career-high 24 against Villanova, 20 in the second half.
Well, this guy's just starting to really understand what he needs to do for us, and I think people around the league are realizing we have somebody pretty special.
And Jeff Greer, who continues to be pretty solid. Not a lot of points this past week, but he does a lot of things out there, doesn't he?
Well, he does. His assists are up, his rebounding is up, and he picks his spots with his scoring.
All right, let's take a look now at the segment that Coach loves to digest, called Why It Worked. And sometimes things work for a reason. Sometimes they just unfold. This one? How you explain this one? We'll find out in a moment. I'll give you the chance to break break it down. It's brought to you by the Rutgers Court Club. Kevin, lead us through this play.
Well, West Virginia is playing a little bit of a 2-3 matchup zone, which they do well. And we're kind of probing it here. We're running a little bit of a motion offense against the zone, and I think this is a real nice example of teamwork, of kids doing the right things and reading the defense well, and it results in an open shot for Earl Johnson. So I think, you know, it's a good lesson for people just to watch it. Not a lot of dribbling, a lot of ball movement, which makes it, and a little bit of screening. Jeff Billett sets a screen here for Earl to come off. And it's all about spacing. If they're going to play a matchup zone, here's Rob Hodgson right here was open. We missed him, but a real nice read. This is all sort of freelance. The kids have to read this stuff. So Earl goes out. Jeff Billett gives us some good spacing, and West Virginia has to adjust to all this movement.
And Kevin, you know, you talk about the beauty of giving yourself up for the other guy. This is unselfishness. This is really looking for the other player.
Yeah, I think there was about 6 or 7 passes in about a 25-second stretch here. And we did some things that are hard to guard. Here, Jeff Billett makes a ball side cut. And they are, you know, you got to credit West Virginia. So far, they're doing a real nice job. What makes the difference is when we finally get the ball inside and then something opens. Here's a skip pass, which is very good to do against the zone. A ball reversal. It's gone side to side 3 times. Now we get the ball inside, and they decided they want to double down, and we finally get the look that we want. Joel Salvi makes a terrific bounce pass to Earl for the open 3.
Every time you've gotten the ball to Salvi, you've had a little triangle setup.
Absolutely. You know, either he has space to take it himself, or if they collapse on him, everybody was where they needed to be to get an open shot. So the kids did a real nice job.
All right, we'll take a short break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the Panthers and the Friars. Look ahead to the week ahead in a moment. Welcome back to the Kevin Bannon Show. Up next for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, the Providence Friars. Have we ever had a week in this studio where we haven't said, it's a big week, it's a big game coming up? Because this is another one that you've got to try to win.
Well, yeah, and you get to February, and you know, everybody, I get tired of the sports writers. These games have, you know, so much significance, but you just have to go out and play. I mean, they want me to give them great answers. I don't have great answers. you just go out and play, and you try to win the games you can win and do the best you can, and I think our kids are doing that. But yeah, the Providence game's a big game for us. It certainly is. They're in that clump of teams in the middle of the pack where we are, and certainly a road win always helps as well.
Tell them you've got to save the good quotes for our show. Here's a look at the upcoming game. It's Rutgers taking on Providence, and it's a tough place to win on the road. Providence Civic Center, Sunday at noon. Friars 14-8, 7-5 in conference play. First-year head coach Tim Welsh. Sean Connolly, a very good freshman, Kevin.
Yeah, he sure is. One of the top freshmen in the league. Great shooter, but he does more than shoot. He's all over the place. Does a great job for their team.
Most ever threes for a Providence freshman. He had 3 for 5 the first time you two teams met. Jamel Thomas, I thought you did a great job against him defensively in the first meeting.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm going to have to get my guys to understand is we saw something that teams only see maybe once a season from Jamel, a night where Dante did a good job on him, but boy, did he struggle, and that's just not the norm. He might be the most explosive offensive player in the league, so we've got to get ready to handle him.
Aaron Maxey, Llewellyn Cole, they've got Justin Farley, Kendrick Moore, Corey Wright, so they throw a lot of bodies at you.
They do. I think Tim inherited a team that's real good for his style, and the kids have responded. They're real pesky. They get after you in the full court. They want to create up-tempo, very aggressive. You know, I like their team a lot, and certainly, as you mentioned, not an easy place to play, and we're really going to have to play at a high level to have a chance to win this game.
But the leading scorer in the league, Jamel Thomas, was held in check by the Scarlet Knights in the first meeting, just 13 points. He also committed 10 turnovers, and Dante Jones had a great deal to do with that. Up next, after the ball game against Providence, the Pittsburgh Panthers, who are playing better. They've won 2 of their last 3. This ball game will be at home at the Rack on Thursday night. Pitt 11-10 overall, 2-8 in conference play. Ralph Willard announced on Monday that he will resign effective the end of the season. Think it'll affect his ball club, Kevin?
Well, from what I see, I think the kids are rallying around Ralph. I mean, he's a popular guy, and I think that they're probably disappointed by that, but they want to go out with a bang. And they certainly have the talent to do that. Vonteego Cummings is a potential first-round draft pick, and there's a lot lot of other talented kids that, for whatever reason, just haven't clicked well in the last month or so. But right now, they seem to be playing better than they've played in a long time.
Isaac Hawkins, 9 double-doubles on the season.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. I mean, this guy's just getting better and better. He's a murderer around the glass, and he's just become a better offensive player.
And it'll be Greer against Greer, Jeff's brother Ricardo.
Well, that's always fun. We'll get a big New York City contingent coming down, and the rack will really be rocking.
6'9" sophomore Attila Cosby. They've got Taylor, who had 17 off the bench the other day. This should be an interesting ball game, Kevin, and you certainly can't take a team like this lightly.
Oh, not at all. I mean, I think our guys understand the talent that's on that Pittsburgh team and what they're capable of doing. I mean, obviously beating Kentucky, you know, this is a tough game. And if you want to go anywhere as a team, you've got to win those home games. So we've got to get off to a good start on our home court.
All right, let's break it down and get to your keys against Pittsburgh.
Well, I think first of all, we've got to take care of the basketball. I mean, they're a team that extends their defense. They're extremely athletic. They really go after you. They make you shoot a low percentage, so that's the first thing. Secondly, I'd say the rebounding the basketball. We've got to do a great job of keeping them off the offensive glass. They're relentless. Even their guards are terrific rebounders, so we've got to do a good job of not giving up second shots. And then lastly, I would say we just have to do a good job of finding them in transition. A lot of their players are very good in the open court. When their defense is good, they push the ball, and there's a load of kids on that team that are just very, very good when they have space. So we're going to have to be at our best.
And Kevin mentioned offensive rebounds. Isaac Hawkins actually leads the league in offensive boards. We'll take a break, and coming up next, we'll profile a guy who had a pretty good college career and now is on the bench next to Kevin Bannon. We're talking about Danny Hurley. We'll get to that story when we come back. A 1996 graduate of Seton Hall, one of Rutgers' arch rivals, but now he's with the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers on the bench as an assistant coach. He's from the first family of Jersey City. Here's a closer look at Danny Hurley. Ken Henderson reports.
He's described by his peers as hardworking and detail-oriented. Dan Hurley, son of St. Anthony High School coach Bobby Hurley Sr. and younger brother of former Duke star Bobby Hurley Jr., has played an integral part on this aggressive coaching staff, and his extensive background has proven quite an asset to the Rutgers program.
You know, he's always been around basketball. You know, he's worked camps during the summer. He's had a chance to meet a lot of the college coaches, and I think he's jumped into the role, you know, at Rutgers, and I think Kevin has given him some opportunities to do some scouting. So I think it's something that I think he kind of prepared for, though maybe he didn't know that, and it appears that he's been helping him there.
Being a restricted earnings coach, you can't do any off-campus recruiting, so that it still enables me to, you know, call kids on the phone, maybe able to assist in junior college recruiting, you know, send mail and literature out to potential recruits. So it's a good experience. You know, being in my second year of college coaching, you know, it's enabled me to get a pretty good understanding of the recruiting process.
A major part of Dan's responsibilities as assistant coach is scouting the competition by way of videotape, as well as reviewing footage of past games. Anything to get his team ready for their next opponent.
From last year, we've made more of an effort this year to, you know, let guys see themselves. And like we said, guys don't quite understand, you know, what a bad screen looks like, or what not fighting through a screen looks like, or what they look like when they're defending off the ball. Gives them a chance to see what they look like and not just think it's coach talk when they hear it.
Coach talk indeed, but beating teams like the 20th ranked Orangemen of Syracuse requires a lot of coaching banter, not only at game time, but also behind the scenes. And Dan knows a little bit about that as well. As a senior at Seton Hall, Hurley was the team's second leading scorer and top playmaker, averaging 5 assists per game.
You know, having played basketball at all levels, and, you know, having had a fairly successful high school and college career, and being around the game as long as I have, it's given me a pretty good understanding of the way, you know, players think, you having played for my dad and P.J. Carlissimo and George Blaney, three of the better teachers of college basketball and high school basketball in the country, really added to my knowledge of the game and understanding. And then, now having the opportunity to coach with Kevin Bannon, has also added to my understanding. And, my age and having just gotten done playing, it's really, helped me being able to understand the psyche of kids, and that's a definite strength. And being around them my whole life, has enabled me to understand the game real well.
And the man of the moment is Danny Hurley, who's knocked in.
Kevin, was one of the best things you've done at Rutgers hire Dan Hurley?
There's no question about it. I mean, I was so impressed with him when we spent a couple of days together in the hiring process, and it's panned out. He's better than I ever imagined. His insight on the game, his knowledge of the game, his interaction with the players, his teaching the game. I mean, he's a home run all the way, and boy, does he have a bright future in the profession.
There was so much talk when you took over and Amaker took over, would one of you guys go after Hurley? And there was some question marks about what kind of responsibility he would have and how hardworking and detail-oriented he would be. I guess he's proved all doubters wrong, didn't he?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, Danny got a break for a young guy, but he earned that break. And to me, he's such a valuable part of our basketball program. I know we're not going to be able to keep him that long, but we hope we can. He's really he's going to be a star in the business. I'm absolutely sure he's going to be a great college head coach.
And a pleasure to work with as well. Time for the Hoop of the Week, but this is more than one hoop. It's a plethora of baskets. It's brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. And Coach, this is a dream game for Rob Hodgson. 11 for 11 from the field.
So I guess the hoop of the week is Rob's field goals. Okay, well, here goes Rob. A couple of driving hoops in traffic that are, terrific. A little spin around, some things that you don't usually see from Rob, and then some very deep threes from Rob. So, when you have a game like this, especially from a guy that's such a great guy in Rob Hodgson, you just feel so good for him.
What a performance by Rob Hodgson against West Virginia. 11 for 11 from the field, 6 for 6 from downtown, 3 for 3 from the line, and he earns the Dunkin' Donuts Hoops of the Week. A game to remember for Rob. We'll take a break around the Big East when we come back. Teams left in the Big East Conference, and right now a tie for second place. And it's time for a look around the Big East Conference. It's brought to you by New Jersey Transit. Here's Ken Henderson.
Saturday, the Hoyas and the Wildcats played a wild one in Philadelphia. Georgetown's Kevin Braswell had a chance to win it in overtime number 1, but John Celestin had other ideas. In the second overtime, Howard Brown's three-pointer, with just under 3 seconds remaining, tied the game. Then off of the inbounds, the Wildcats come up with the steal, and Jermaine Medley's prayer of a shot is answered as the Cats win 93-90. Elsewhere, the Huskies had to battle back from a 12-point second-half deficit to topple the Red Storm of St. John's. 2 big runs in the second half, including an 11-0 burst that ended with UConn up 72-65 with just over 3 minutes to go, helped keep the Huskies undefeated. At the Meadowlands, Jason Hart matched his career high of 24 points to help win the Pirates. It was the Hall's 4th consecutive loss as they fell to 11-9, 5-6 in the conference.
Monday night in the Big East Conference, the UConn Huskies brought the nation's longest winning streak at 19 games into their matchup against the Syracuse Orangemen. However, the Huskies were without 2 key components of their basketball team due to injury: junior center Jake Voskuhl and one of the nation's best players in Richard Hamilton. And by the time the buzzer sounded Monday night in stores, the Huskies' winning streak was no more.
Connecticut shot just 36% from the field for the game and only 32% in the second half as the Orangemen toppled the undermanned Huskies 59-42. Tuesday night, the BC Eagles used the trifecta to hand the Pirates their 5th straight defeat. Boston College shot 9 for 18 from three-point range to earn just their 2nd conference win, 81-66. And that's our trip around the Big East.
Well, also this week, Miami beat St. John's for a second time, so sometimes the team has the other team's number just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it comes down to matchups a little bit and confidence and systems and all those sorts of things, but it's, you know, it gets crazy. One game can move you a couple spots in the standing.
I know.
When you get into February, it's really great.
Here's a look at the standings right now, just what Kevin mentioned. You win one, you're in great shape. You lose one, all of a sudden, you're in trouble. Brought to you by And One Apparel. Here are the Big East standings. UConn's finally lost the ball game, but we really focus, Kevin, on the middle right now, and that's where there's a lot of teams with 5 losses.
Well, that's it. The loss column's what it's all about, and you've got to go out. A lot of us play against each other, so those games are very important. And also the strength of schedule. Some people have to play those upper echelon teams a couple of times, some don't. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. Everybody has 5 to 7 games left.
You were 4th early in the week, then you dropped to 6th or 7th. It's amazing what happens with one buzzer beater.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, that's what you play for. I mean, the kids know that. You go out and you play your heart out in February and you see where it takes you. And the thing that's important is you have to be resilient. You know, if you like our Villanova game, we did a fantastic job coming back, giving ourselves a chance to win. It got away from us. Hey, 48 hours later, you got to suit up and play someone else. You got to put it behind you.
These are the dog days of February. Don't ever forget it. We'll take a break. Some final thoughts coming up on the Kevin Bannon Show. And one sophomore, and now they're really sophomore and almost juniors because they've had the year of experience. Here's what they face this coming week. 2 tough ball games. One at Providence, one of the toughest places to win in the league. That game on Sunday. And then at home at the Rack, where Rutgers has been extremely tough lately. But I always say that a guy late in the season is almost a year ahead because of his maturity. Fair to say?
Well, you hope so, but I think sometimes it works both ways. I think there's sometimes freshmen get a little bit burned out and don't play well for you late in the season, and then other kids, a lot of it's just toughness. They can fight through it, and they do play like sophomores. I think we're lucky in the sense that our freshmen, Rashad, Kent, and Dante, seem to be peaking right now, and Billy Collins now off the bench is starting to play good basketball for us. So, you know, knock on wood, I think our freshmen are going to play like sophomores down the stretch. I'm very, very excited about it.
Dante has been on fire lately, looking like the way Artest did late last year.
Well, you know, to mention him in the same breath, that's a great player, but Dante does have all those ingredients, and he's a tough cookie, and he's really put the team on his back at times.
Coach, good luck to you this week. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks, Bruce.
That's it for the Kevin Bannon Show. Have a good week, everybody.
The Big East, Rutgers, and Providence. This one almost like a playoff game. As you look at Kevin Bannon, he says, if we get this victory, we might be in the field. Jeff Billett to Jeff Greer. Greer had 21.
Very important for Rutgers. They have now swept Providence twice this year. This means a lot when it comes for seeding, as well as will the Big East get 5 or 6 teams in to postseason play.
In the Atlantic 10, St. Joe's and
Hoops. The Scarlet Knights of Rutgers tried to bounce back from Wednesday night's loss to Villanova. Today, another tough road test at Providence. First half, Rutgers moves the ball around and gets it to Jeff Greer, who takes it to the rack for 2 and the foul. Rutgers by 3. The Scarlet Knights on the break. Jeff Billett squares up and buries the trifecta. Rutgers by 10 at the half. Second half, and this time Billett finds Greer for the authoritative slam. RU with their biggest lead of the game, 55-36. Kevin Bannon Scarlet Knights improved to 15-7 overall, 7-5 in conference play, 86-75 the final. On the ice, the rain.
Rutgers beat Providence 86-75. Jeff Greer was the man. First half, Greer off balance, hoop and foul. Rutgers by 10 at the break. Second half, 2 of his 21 with authority. Say goodnight, Rutgers by 11. Marist beat Iona
and Providence, and Rutgers jumping out early. Jeff Billett takes the pass and then decides to pass up the 3 and instead dropping down a little bit of a runner. Rutgers now on the break a little later in the game, and it's Billett to Jeff Greer, but Greer thinks he's got an easy layup until John Lenahan swats it away. but Greer would get revenge as he knocks down the three. He had 13 points at the half. And then Billett comes up with the steal. Over to Greer. This time Greer will jam it down. He finished with 21 points as they sweep the season series with Providence. Jamel Thomas, 23 points and 8 rebounds, but it comes in a losing effort. Hey, you want more?
The Scarlet Knights fighting the Friars and fighting for a postseason berth. And what are the advantages? Scarlet Knights, the last time this happened, Jamel Thomas, season low 13 points, career high 10 turnovers. The aforementioned leads the Big East in scoring, but he had to work hard. Here he follows his own miss. Thomas just 8 of 22 on the day. Quinn?
And there was good defense around him all day long. Right there, Rashard Kent, the big center from Rutgers, right there. Good, solid position by Kent, hands straight up. He gives the team the ball, gets a fast break. You try to make good plays, but you want to reward people that do well. Guess what? Rashard Kent makes his way down and gets the finish.
Way to hustle, big fella. Later off the steal, Jeff Billett finds Jeff Greer. And Jeff Greer finds the 10. Greer at 21. Rutgers 86-75 over Providence. They never trailed. They led by 21 in the second half. They forced 24 Scarlet Knight turnovers, but were unable to capitalize as Rutgers made 24 free throws to just 10 for Providence. Well, in 1991, the Big East sent 7 teams to the NCAA tournament. No one's saying 7 are going this year, but Quinn, how do you think the Big East stands as we head towards March?
Well, I think what the Big East has is a pretty good shot at getting teams. You know that Syracuse has a solid chance. Miami, St. John's, UConn, of course. I think after that you start looking at teams. Villanova, very probably. Then the game today I thought was huge for Rutgers because what they have going out, they have 6 games. 4 of those teams have non-winning records. And if you have that kind of situation, it works pretty well for you. If you look at what Providence has to do, their team trying to get in there, they have to play St. John's, Miami, and UConn. That makes it very difficult. Rutgers' win today was huge for them.
Syracuse with only one Final Four team in the 90s, Syracuse in 1996, the only Big East team in the Final Four. These are teams that...
Colleges, big day for Rutgers, and I mean big. The Knights got the NCAA tournament hopes right back on track today. An impressive showing for them at Providence. Knights needed to get this one today and make up for that loss at Villanova. What a first half for Rutgers. Earl Johnson, nice feed to Jeff Greer. Jeff was huge today, both inside and out. They'll find him behind the stripe here. Rutgers with a 10-point lead at the break. They pushed it as high as 21, and then they weathered the Providence storm. Off the steal, here they come. Jeff Billett to Greer for the rim rocker. RU keeping the Friars in check. And the lead dwindled to 6 late, but here's the big one. Under 2 minutes to go underneath. Joe Salvi wide open. 86-75. Rutgers with a big one. Underline the word big. More Rutgers stuff for you tonight on the Jersey Sports.
Here it was the Knights with their 15th win, 86-75. And in the Pro Bowl tonight it was
Providence today, but only one game separates about 5 teams with a month to go before the tournament. Still, they beat the Friars 86-75. Clearly in control in the entire game. They had a 17-point lead in the second half, 53-36, and off a turnover as Jeff Billett with a 2-on-1, dishing to Jeff Greer, who had 21 points on the day. A nice afternoon for Billett as well. Next Rutgers possession, it's Billett with a beautiful bounce pass to Rashard Kent, who lays it up, and then with it still 16-point lead. Got a little dicey here. Joe Salvi driving to the basket, and he's fouled hard by Justin Farley. Farley got tossed from the game, but he did run down court to apologize. No harm intended, just a hard foul, and Rutgers does win by 11. They're now 7-5 in the Big East, and Speedy Claxton.
Today, the Scarlet Knights looking to bounce back from Wednesday's loss to Villanova. First half, Rutgers on the break. Earl Johnson misses, but big Rashard Kent right there for the jam. Rutgers up by 2. Seconds left in the first half. Jeff Billett feeds Rob Hodgson for the layup. Rutgers up by 10 at the break. Second half. Rutgers' Joel Salvi on the break. Gets pushed by Justin Farley. Lands hard to the floor. And Rutgers takes exception. So does the ref. Farley gets ejected. But Salvi would be fine. Here Hodgson feeds him for the reverse and the foul. Rutgers goes on to win 86-75. They improve to 7-5 in the Big East, 15-7 overall. Coming up.
In sports college basketball, Rutgers is all but secured a spot in postseason play, and is still early February. The Scarlet Knights can point to tough road wins like yesterday at Providence as one of the reasons. Late in the game, Rutgers backup Joel Salvi on his way to a sure dunk, but he was pushed by the Friars' Justin Farley, who was ejected for the play. Emotions ran high. Salvi was okay and came up with some big plays later on to help Rutgers pull off its 15th win of the season, 86-75. The Scarlet Knights are 15-7, 7-5 in the Big East.
Our guys now know that we're a postseason team, and now what we have to figure out in the next couple of weeks is whether that's an NIT bid or an NCAA bid. It's very exciting. We haven't been there in a long time in this program, and I know we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're an NCAA team. We can control our own destiny, but you know, it's not going to be easy. But it's not easy for anybody else. We just have to see how these last couple of weeks pan out.
Offensively, you guys have been kind of almost a question mark, but it seems that somebody steps up when you need them, especially in the, with the important wins that you've gotten on the road. You've had different people step up at different times.
Yeah, well, one of the things I like about our team is that there's a number of guys that can get us 15, 18 points a night. We don't have a huge score that's going to be 20 or 30, but we have probably 6 guys, maybe 7, that can get into the teens. So I think it makes us hard to play against, and it's good for our kids because they know, we get somebody that's playing well, you just try to get them the ball, but it's not like that person has to be the same night in and night out.
Success breeds success. At least 2 of the next home games are sold out. Scarlet Knights have already had 3 sellouts this season so far, and road games are becoming popular as well. Between 200 and 300 fans showed up here yesterday to watch the road game on big screen.
Our attendance is up tremendously from last year. The numbers of sellouts is really exciting. And then when you go on the road and you have hundreds of people that show up to watch your game on a big screen here in the RAC, I mean, that's special. I mean, it just says how far the program's come, and it's really appreciated by the athletes. It's pretty special and pretty unique to the Big East Conference.
It's unique to Rutgers, too, because they haven't seen anything like this in a long time.
I think Coach Bannon is proud.
Got to be proud.
And the players, too. Thank you, Jerry. Well,
It was the Scarlet Knights hosting Pittsburgh. That meant a battle of brothers from Washington Heights. Jeff Greer for Rutgers, his older brother Ricardo for Pitt. Before the game, Bruce Beck asked Jeff what he planned tonight.
Dunk it right on his head. That's what I'm going to do. Right on his head.
So, would the younger Greer get his wish, beating up Big Brother? First half, he got the dunk, but it was not over Ricardo. Good dunk anyway. Later in the half, it's Jeff with the pass to Rashad Kent for the easy layup. Ricardo did have his moments for Pittsburgh, helped keep the Panthers in the game. He led them with 21 points, but the Scarlet Knights with too many weapons. Joel Salvi, another easy basket. Rutgers keeps its NCAA hopes alive. 71-58, they're now 16-7. Local hockey teams off.
Basketball, Rutgers beats Pitt 71-58. Rutgers has won 6 of its last 7. They are now 16-7. Rob Hudson had 20 points. In the MAC Conference, Siena...
Two wins in the week that was. UConn looms in the week that is. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to the Kevin Bannon Show. The Scarlet Knights of Rutgers are on a roll. They've won back-to-back Big East games, 6 out of their last 7, their first winning season since the 1991-92 season. But are they ready for prime time? We'll find out on Tuesday night in stores against UConn. Kevin, team is going pretty good right now. What's your secret to success?
I don't know. Survive and move on. That's what it's all about. When February comes around, you want your team to be hitting on all cylinders. I think we are. The kids are playing with a lot of confidence, and boy, you need to play that way at this time of year.
All right, let's take a look at the highlights from this past week's action. Begin on Sunday in Providence at the Providence Civic Center against the Friars. And Coach, this is always one of the toughest places to play, I think, in the league.
Yeah, it was a tough atmosphere, a lot like somebody coming into the RAC and trying to get a win. Hostile crowd, loud crowd. Kids kids did a great job. I thought it got off to a good start. You see Rashad there with a putback. We need those. So it was a really hard-fought game.
Jeff Greer with a three-pointer. Rutgers showed some good ball movement in this game.
You need to. They're so good defensively. We need to make the extra pass. They do a lot of trapping and getting after you, and I thought our kids did a tremendous job of getting the ball away from their trapping defenses.
And when you broke the trap, you set things up afterwards.
Yeah, we talk about against pressure, making sure you either get to the rim or open threes. That's what we like, and I think our kids did a good job with that.
Hey, Billy Collins gave you a little bit of a lift off the bench as well.
Absolutely. It was good for Billy playing up in New England to show his stuff. He's starting to play with a lot of confidence, and I was very happy to see him knock one down.
And now Rutgers on the fast break. Billett to Hodgson, and Rutgers at the half goes up 37-27.
Well, you know, they give you chances to break their press. You got to do a good job of converting. Right there, even there, you have Rashad running the court. Rob finds him as a good finish for us.
A double-double for Rashad Kent. Beautiful move by Dante as he slashes and puts you up by 15.
Well, that was key because this is a team that's relentless. You never have enough of a lead against these guys, and you see a score off our defense, which is always important for us.
Rutgers goes up by 21, but Justin Farley brings them back. He had 14 points off the bench. Jamel Thomas at 23, and all of a sudden, it's a 6-point game.
Yeah, you know, it would have been nice to be able to put them away, but you got to give them credit. They are a real gutty team, and they're going to keep coming at you in waves, and I thought our kids really did a good job of getting their comfort level back.
Watch this play. Now, Salvi goes in, and he's fouled from behind. Farley is ejected, and you're fortunate that Salvi was not seriously hurt here.
Yeah, it was an ugly play. I mean, immediately after it happened.
Ooh, you were hot.
Well, no, actually, I was just running out there so none of our kids threw any punches or the incident escalated. I mean, it was a terrible play, and I know the kid felt awful about it, but boy, it was a very dangerous play.
So you were playing the Pat Riley peacemaker role.
Yeah, I was going to grab someone's leg a la Van Gundy.
Here, Rutgers breaks the pressure again. Salvi ends up with the dunk, 4 for 4 from the field. Rutgers wins at 86-75. Flash ahead to Thursday night against Pittsburgh, and again, out of the gate, the fast break.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, another team that extends their defense, Pittsburgh. Got to handle the ball, you got to find open people, and we did a good job in transition.
Rob Hodgson with 20 points in the ball game, shooting it well.
Rob always shoots it well, one of the top three-point shooters in the league, and you know, he just gives us that extra guy that can step out and gives our inside guys space, like right here with Rashad. You know, when we have 4 out, it gives us space to operate around the rim.
Now Billett to Greer. It was a battle of the Greer brothers. The Washington Heights contingent was out in force.
Ricky Greer from Pitt had a great game, but Jeff Greer also is playing super basketball for us.
Ricardo Greer, 21 points, 12 rebounds. Jeff Greer, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Rutgers wins the game, but Ricardo Greer does a nice job in the individual battle. All right, Pitt wouldn't go away in this one, would they?
No, I give them a lot of credit. This is a team that's had a really tough year, and you know, they're playing fearless basketball. They have nothing to lose. There's a lot of talent, so you got to give them credit.
Dante Jones gives Rutgers a 1-point lead, 53-52, and then Joel Salvi, again, a little defense here, takes the charge, and then on the other end, he comes through.
Yep, that's what Joel Salvi does for this basketball team. He does all the dirty work, gets rebounds, gives his emotion, as you see, plays great defense. I mean, the kid's super.
What about that rejection by Dante?
Good to see Dante do that. He's that kind of an athlete and kid. Look at him. He gets pretty charged up by that. What a player he's going to be in a Rutgers uniform.
Salvi with a nice play down low, puts Rutgers up by 7, and then Billett finds a friendly rim as the Scarlet Knights win it 71-58, shooting 25 for 30 from the line. Joel Salvi, yes, that productivity means a lot, doesn't it?
Sure does. I mean, as the year has gone on, this kid stepped up, gives us points, gives us rebounds, and gives us energy, and he's a very important guy for us.
I like that field goal percentage number when you're talking about Jeff Greer.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff does it in a variety of ways. He's super on the break, but he shoots it from 3, and he's playing very consistently good basketball for us.
Another outstanding week for Hodgson, 14.5 points, 6 boards. Jeff Billett, 18 points, 6 assists against Providence. And Rashad Kent, coach, you got the double-double from Rashad against Providence. Those are good numbers.
That's important. In February now, we've got to have the inside-outside. We know we're going to get good perimeter play, but when we get that inside attack from Salvi and from Rashad, that makes us so much of a better basketball team.
All right, time for Why It Worked, brought to you by the Rutgers Court Club. Kevin's talked about it already, how Rutgers has done an excellent job breaking the press as they did in the last couple of ball games. Let's take a look at this one against the Providence Friars.
Well, they're a great pressing team. They really come after you, and you've got to concern yourself with spacing. You got to look ahead to your teammates and make them pay a price for trapping you in the open court. And this session of Why It Worked is a good example of that right here. Right away, Rashad Kent gets the double team, and he does a good job of throwing it out of the double team. You know, a lot of players, we like to play a big player here. Rashad's a good passer. And then throw it away from the trapping defense. So we throw it away and we get it to Earl, who has to take advantage of the spacing. Right now, Earl does a great job of putting it to the middle of the court, and now we have a classic 3-on-2 fast break. And we always tell our guys we want to get dunks and strong finishes at the rim, or we want to get open threes. In this case, Earl spots Jeff Greer on the right side for an open three. It was a classic press breakdown and also a fast break.
You know, the Farron of the Bluegrass, Adolph Rupp, told me at basketball camp as a kid, bring it to the top, bring it to the foul line, make the play as the guard, and that's what he did.
Adolph Rupp was at a camp with you?
Yes, sir.
Your age is showing, you know, makeup hides it pretty well.
That's Why It Worked. Rutgers breaking the press. What a watch it, Coach. All right, we'll take a short break. Coming up next, the UConn Huskies and the Scarlet Knights this week. We'll take a look at UConn when we return. Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, Boston College at the rack on Saturday. BC, which has struggled for much of the season, playing better lately. They have won 3 of their last 4 ball games. Their only loss to UConn. The game is 7:30 p.m. at the rack. BC comes in 3-10 in conference play. They are coached by Al Skinner, who 25 years ago made the ABA All-Rookie team with the New York Nets, Kevin.
He's doing a great job. I think the thing that's good about these guys is that they're playing good basketball in February. When you struggle the way this young team has struggled, it's a real credit to see these kids get their act together and really play well as a unit late in the season.
Michael Cotton averaging 10.5 points, 4.8 rebounds per game. Kevin mentioned the word young. They've got a lot of freshmen. Kenny Walls out of San Francisco.
Having a great year. He's a very talented kid. He's a swing man. He can get to the rim. He can hit a 3. And boy, has he blossomed lately.
San Francisco High School Player of the Year. Another sophomore guard is Kenny Harley out of All Hallows in the Bronx.
Well, you know, he's a sophomore, and he's like one of their veterans for their team.
Right.
Kind of like a Jeff Greer for us, but he's another talented kid and a real emotional, fiery guy that gets them going.
He's averaging about 10 points and 3.5 boards per game. And then there's Clinton Sims, a freshman. He played with the Maine Central Institute last year. Younger brother of Louisville guard Alvin Sims.
Yeah, he's another guy. You know, they've got a lot of players that can play a couple of positions, and they've got a little bit of a unique style. A lot of times they play without a center. They have a number of players that can shoot the 3, and they're very tenacious on defense. So they present a lot of problems, and right now they're playing with probably more confidence than they play with the whole year.
All right, following that ball game, the next Rutgers test is at UConn against the highly ranked Huskies, who have lost only once but avenged that loss by beating Stanford the next time out 70-59. Their only losses to Syracuse, and Jim Calhoun is still fiery even with things going as well as they are.
Well, I have great respect for Jim Calhoun and his program, and what can you say? These guys are the best team in the country in my estimation. They've got a lot of weapons. They go inside, they go outside, they go deep. They play great defense, and they have probably the player of the year in the league in Rip Hamilton. So it's a hell of a team.
Well, they were banged up for a little while, but they're healing a little bit. And Khalid El Amin, a brilliant guard.
You know, the young guy, he came in last year and just took the show over, and not many kids can do that. He's such a great player and plays with such emotion, makes everybody around him better.
Jake Boskel averaging 7 boards per game. He's 5th in the conference in blocks. I think one of the most improved players in the league.
I would agree with that. I think his emergence as a force in our league, I think has taken them from what could be a top 10 team to the best team in the country.
Underrated Kevin Freeman. I mean, he's so good you forget about the fact that he's playing with all these other guys.
I love him. I mean, he'd be a star for most teams in our league, but he accepts his role, and he's a guy that I often use as an example with my own players. Joel Salvi is kind of our version of Kevin Freeman, guy that does the dirty work and really does the little things to help you win.
All right, let's talk about UConn. How do you beat this ball club? At least, how do you approach it?
Well, you know, you have to go up there, particularly on the road. You have to go up there and you have to give yourself a chance. So first of all, you've got to take care of the ball. That's so important. If they're scoring off your turnovers, there's no chance. So take care of the ball and play with confidence early. The next thing I would say is you have to gang rebound. We don't have a guy that can go get the ball with these guys. If we don't send 4 players to the glass and get rebounding from people like Dante and Jeff Greer, it's not going to happen. And then the last thing we have to do is a great job in transition defense.
That's a tough one to really adhere to.
A lot of guys that can score, and El Amin makes them great. If we can just not let them get a lot of easy baskets and get into a half court, that's our only chance.
They turn it into transition in just a split second. They're that good defensively, and they make it into offensive points. We talked to some of the Rutgers players, their thoughts about going up to Stores to taking on powerful UConn.
You know, obviously UConn's a great team, and playing up there is just going to make it that much more of a challenge. So, you know, we're going to have to, you know, obviously play our best game to win up there. And it's a challenge. I mean, you know, we're going to, if we want to do things at the end of the year and hopefully play in the postseason, we're going to probably be playing a lot of teams like that once the Big East tournament starts, and then either in the NIT or possibly NCAA tournament. So, you know, it's a good challenge late in the year for us, and, you know, we have to do our best to win.
UConn's a great team, and we're just going to try to work as hard as practice just to get ready for them and try to get a big win on the road.
You know, what can you say? Connecticut's a great team. It shows they've been ranked number 1. I don't know what I think they're still 1 or 2, or you know, but they're up there. They've been up there the whole year. They're a very consistent team. Anytime you get a team like that and you're playing them at home, it's always tough.
It's nice to have that challenge, Kevin, this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, the way I look at it is the kids should be really excited about the opportunity to, you know, to beat a top 2 or 3 team in the country and find out how good you are and let it all hang out. There's kind of a nothing-to-lose attitude, and I think our kids are excited about that opportunity.
Speaking about excitement, there's a lot of enthusiasm on the Rutgers campus these days. We'll get to that story when we come back on the Kevin Bannon Show. The rack is rocking. 5 sellouts and counting. The atmosphere is electric, and the pep squad is a part of the charm. Ken Henderson reports.
Give it to the big guy, right?
Oh, he had
give it to him. There you go. He'll give it up, though. You know, that's the thing. He doesn't force the action.
Oh, Billett got in between and he hit it. He got in between and he knew if he wanted to pass or shoot, he had to.
Many of us go to basketball games because we enjoy the thrill and excitement of being part of the crowd as 2 teams battle each other on the court. But did you ever stop to think about where a lot of the excitement is actually generated from? Well, at many Rutgers games, the answer is the pep squad.
Well, the band, I think, is here just to capitalize on the emotions of the crowd. What we try to do is, based on what the situation is with the team going into a timeout, is just to elevate the spirit in the rack. And we'll just pull one from the repertoire of, I guess, about 40 songs. So just depending, again, on the environment here and what everybody's doing, we'll just play whatever tune best fits in. The songs you just saw me write down were the stuff we're doing for pregame, and then we'll do a couple at halftime just to play for the crowd as they're coming in. Just try to get them fired up a little bit.
The pep squad works in unison with the cheerleaders, and together they work as sort of a two-fisted attack to get the crowd involved.
I think we really like it. Like we try to work with the cheerleaders and the dance team to get everybody going. Like, there was one game a couple weeks ago when the cheerleaders and the dance team weren't there because they were all competing. So it was just us. So we kind of acted as the cheerleaders, and the crowd reacted the same way as if they had been there. So I mean, we get them to cheer. It's fun.
I think the crowd reacts a little bit to our playing. I don't think they really get into our songs. I think they more get into like our presence, like us starting cheers with the cheerleaders and just our cheering, and of course when they're shooting foul shots, us just waving our hands and stuff. They probably get more into that aspect, like our fan aspect, than our playing aspect. I think they still appreciate us. Like they still cheer when we do certain songs, and they sometimes even come over and request songs, but they probably like our fan aspect.
They're a tight-knit group, and they have to be, not only playing together at the rack, but also hitting the road at tournament time.
Last year with the men's team, we went to Madison Square Garden for their tournament, and then with the women's team, we went to Iowa and to Tennessee, so that was great. I mean, be able to see other places, of course, for free, and to travel with a group of your friends, it's a lot of fun.
We have our own service fraternity so that things run run smoothly within the band because it's mostly student run. So a lot of it is like those are our friends. Like we have our own little cliques and things. So we do a lot together.
Probably my favorite songs are just the fight songs. The Bells Must Ring and Colonel Rutgers. Sometimes we play them a little too often, but that's really what gets the crowd motivated. Like in Bells Must Ring, there's a whole chant with the crowd, so everyone stands up and does it along with us. So that's probably my two favorite songs.
So the next time you visit the rack to cheer on Rutgers, how about a cheer for the Pep Squad as well?
Kevin, has the Pep Band had an NCAA tournament type year?
They sure have. They're tremendous. I mean, you know, you could put out a Pep Squad, or you could put out somebody that's big time. They're big time. Those kids are really into it, and they do a great job, and the whole crowd feeds off them. It makes it a tough place to come in and try and get a win.
That's for sure. If you're a visitor, you do not want to go to the rack. All right, it's time for our Hoop of the Week, and it's brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. And we go back to the Providence game, and Coach, we feature Jeff Greer, who's made a lot of good hoops lately.
Boy, he's been just on fire. You know, he's been Mr. Consistency for us, and such an important guy. Here we just swing the ball. Earl does a great job, and he just gets in there and makes it's good to see that kind of shot, because he showed a little bit of strength getting up there by the rim, and when he combines that with three-point shooting, he's great.
It's a nice slash, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The kids do a good job of moving the ball. He gets opening, and look how he just kind of gets in there, and finishes with the hit, which is the next step that he needs to take.
Hoop of the Week brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts, a regular stopping spot for Coach Bannon during the season, trying to grab a coffee on the run wherever he can go.
You got it. A lot of tape to watch, a lot of insomnia evenings getting ready for these big games.
All right, we'll take a short break. The Big East Report is just ahead. Stay with us. Madison Square Garden, just around the corner. And right now it is time for our Big East Report. It's brought to you by New Jersey Transit. We go around the Big East with Ken Henderson.
There was a plethora of action on Saturday in the Big East Conference, but perhaps the most intriguing matchup saw the UConn Huskies venture out of conference to take on the Stanford Cardinal. Once again, the Huskies were without Richard Hamilton, but center Jake Voskuhl did return for Jim Calhoun. Khalid El-Amin had 23 points to go along with 5 assists and 5 steals for UConn as the Huskies defeated Stanford 70-59. Freshman Troy Murphy returned home to lead all scorers and the Irish to a 16-point win. Murphy had 22 points to help hand the Hall their 6th straight loss. The Pirates didn't only lose the game, but also saw point guard Shaheen Holloway exit early on this crushing pick by Phil Hickey. Elsewhere, the Wildcats used the smothering zone defense along with a strong second half to dispose of the Orangemen. Syracuse shot a measly 32% from the field for the game, and Nova had 6 players score in double figures to win by 15. Meanwhile, the Red Storm had no trouble with the struggling Pittsburgh Panthers. Eric Barkley had 21 points for the Johnnies, and Bootsy Thornton added 17 as the Red Storm cruised. Monday, the red-hot Hurricanes continued to impress as they knocked off Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. Johnny Hemsley had 21 points. Tim James added 18 as the Canes improved to 16-5 and 10-3 in the conference. Tuesday night, the Red Storm shot 71% in the first half to help hand the Mountaineers their 4th straight defeat and their 5th consecutive loss at home. West Virginia had not lost 5 in a row at home since the 1924-25 season.
Wednesday night, the Fighting Irish were trying to go a game over 500 in conference play and keep their slim postseason hopes alive as they hosted the Hoyas. Well, Notre Dame built themselves a 12-point lead at the half, but the second half belonged to Georgetown.
Kevin Braswell scored 13 second-half points to lead Georgetown as they outscored the Irish 40-19 in the second stanza. The loss dropped Notre Dame to 6-7 in the conference, 12-12 overall. And that's our trip around the Big East.
standings right now in the Big East, and Coach, are battling for that 4th spot along with Villanova right now. Providence, Syracuse still in the hunt, but you want to get into good positioning for the tournament.
Very important, Bruce, that we hold serve and we remain up near the top of the pack. As you say, your seeding in the tournament is important, and getting into the Big East tournament and winning some games can really help you for postseason.
I think the quarterfinals are going to be unbelievable in the tournament this year. So many teams have a shot.
Yeah, but there's an awful lot of chances for so-called upsets too. When you look at the bottom of the league, there's some pretty good basketball teams. So it should be a very exciting Big East tournament.
And playing at the Garden for you in the Big East tournament, it's not really a home game, but you've got a little bit of an edge there.
Oh, sure. I mean, we'll get tremendous turnout, tremendous support, and we feel very, very comfortable playing there. So we're excited about it. It's right around the corner, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. Where did the season go? A short break. Some final thoughts on the Kevin Bannon Show in a moment.
I don't know.
In this 1998-99 season, here's the remaining slate for the Scarlet Knights.
Well, we play, 3 of the 5 on the road, and we play some of the tougher teams in the league, but everybody has a tough road to hoe now. We've got to win our home games and steal 1 or 2 on the road.
So it's time to think about summer, which means golf and basketball camp for you, right?
Well, I can't think about that now. This is crunch time.
But we have to let the kids know early about the Kevin Bannon basketball camp, because it's an opportunity to develop some skills, have some great camaraderie, and have a good time.
Yeah, we have a good time with it. I've been running that camp in the state for a long time, and the greatest thing is moving it to the Rutgers campus, because we have such great facilities, and last year was a real hit, so we look forward to this summer.
So a little bit of a spring clinic, then some open weeks, and then the team camp. And there's your phone number if you want more information on the basketball camp. Do I get a break with my 8 and 12-year-old if I'm interested?
Absolutely, Bruce, but you stay away. I want them for a week. I don't want you coming around at night or anything, okay? I just want to coach these guys for a week and help them out.
Yes, sir. Coach, have a good week. We'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Bruce.
That's it for the Kevin Bannon Show. See you next week, everybody.
Completely out of sync.
Trouble tonight against Boston College, but they came back with a vengeance. Down 10 at halftime. They turned it around in the second, pounding BC. They won by 17, 79-62. A heartbreaker, though.
Rutgers men's basketball team has a big game on the schedule tonight. They're playing at UConn, but Jerry, there's lots of excitement right there at the rack tonight.
That's right, Kent. Tell you what, as you can see over my shoulder, they're setting up the big screen. That's something they've done for a couple of games this year. Tonight, of course, one of the biggest of the season at number 2 UConn. And here with me to talk about that is Associate Athletic Director Kevin McConnell. Kevin, you've done this for a couple of times this year. You've had people come in to watch road games. How did this idea come about?
Well, Jerry, basically because the cable systems that do some of our road games cannot be seen throughout the state, and most of the students here on campus don't have cable. So we decided to open up the door, put up a big screen, and let the fans come in. And what we found out is at least half the people coming in have cable, but they just want to be here to watch the game with everybody else.
And you kind of make it a game-like atmosphere. You do some of the same things you do at a basketball game.
We do everything. We do the lucky row, the lucky seat. We have the halftime shootout. We have a shot for midcourt. So, yeah, we try to make it as much of a game atmosphere as we can.
Now, I know you don't want to be overconfident quite yet. You need to win at least 2 of the next the next 4 games to assure yourself of an NCAA bid. But you're planning. This is kind of a practice for your big party.
Yeah, as long as things go the way we're planning or hope they'll go, we would like to do on Selection Sunday. The women's show is on at 5:15, and the men's show is on at 6:30 on CBS. So we'd like to open up the doors and let fans come in here. We'd have both our men's and women's teams here, so the people can be right here with our players and watch us as the selections go up on Sunday. So cross our fingers, we get 2 more, and we're a done deal.
Yeah, of course, the women are at St. John tonight. They are all but in it at 21-4, 20-4. They're all but in the NCAA tournament. But the men, as we said, have 1 more home game here, and that game is already a sellout. You've had 6 sellouts this year. When have you seen this kind of excitement around Rutgers?
Never. I mean, not for really any sport. For men's basketball, this is as good as it's gotten, and it's only been 2 years with Kevin and the women as well. The women sold out the UConn game We had over 14,000 people here, Jerry, the other night to watch the women play at 2 o'clock against Notre Dame, and the men's game against Boston College was sold out. So this is as good as it's ever been, and it's only going to get better based on the recruiting classes that both coaches have had.
Great, continued success. Big game tonight, UConn and Rutgers in Storr, Connecticut. Back to you, Ken.
All right, Jerry. Go Knights. Thank you. Spring is...
NCAA Outlook is the subject of our Bell Atlantic Big East conference call. The first tip of March Madness is right around the corner, and that means teams are fighting for a spot in the field of 64. Let's take a look at how the Big East shapes up and who's hoping to be dancing. UConn was #1 in the country for 10 weeks. The only question facing the Huskies right now is, will they get the #1 seed in the East, or will it be Duke and UConn head elsewhere? St. John's has exceeded everyone's hope, certain to be a high seed. The Red Storm has proven they can play with anyone. Look at the quality teams that have downed the Red Storm by a total of only 19 points. These close finishes will provide valuable motivation for St. John's. Come March, watch out. You could call Miami the Road Warriors. The Canes have won big games in the last month at St. John's and Syracuse. They're definitely in. The question is, what will their seed be? Syracuse has been ranked throughout the year. Despite 6 losses at home and in the middle of the conference standings, the Orangemen should be in, provided they don't stumble. Villanova might be on the bubble, but is making it hard for the committee to ignore them, quietly putting together wins. One negative could be a lack of quality wins for Steve Lappis's gang. Rutgers appears to be a shoe-in, but Providence may be playing itself out. Rutgers swept the Friars this season and seems to be playing on fire right now. One thing is for certain, these last weeks are extremely important for the seedings for the Big East Tournament. The conference tournament is always exciting and will certainly help clear up the NCAA tournament picture. In the all-important RPI ranking, 6 Big East schools in the top 42. Providence at number 70 could be in trouble. It is halftime here at the Carrier Dome.
Look at City Hall in Philadelphia from Broad Street, and in Philadelphia, Temple would qualify as one of the teams here in our CN8 viewing area that you could say is definitively in the NCAA tournament. Also, Maryland is there, tangentially on the edge. St. John's is there as well. Which other teams are in? A lot of other teams that are jockeying for position, looking good right now, like the Drexels of the world, but we got a lot more to do. We're going to talk about the bubble teams, including Rutgers, in a moment. Let's go to Cinnaminson, and we stay on the telephone lines with Martin. How you doing tonight, Martin?
Good, Scott. How you doing?
Okay.
Hey, Rob. I got a question on Rutgers and St. John's.
Okay.
On Rutgers, does a game like last night help them? I mean, even though they lost by 13, they weren't down by 23 or 24 points most of the game and hit a couple of late three-pointers. You know, it was a 6-8-point game most of the game, and then UConn pulls away at the end. Do they take that into account?
They're going to take it into account. They're also going to take into account the only thing that does for you, if nothing else, is you're playing a team that's a number 5 RPI team, so that improves your own strength of schedule, and that number is an important part of how the RPI is put together.
Yeah, you're certainly, that loss is not going to drop them in the RPI. We saw going to break, they were at number 25 in the country. That puts you solidly in the NCAA tournament right now. So Rutgers is a bubble team, but they're a very strong bubble team. And that's because they've had terrific play from their freshmen and great leadership from their seniors. Last night, Jeff Billett did everything he could to try and keep Rutgers into the game. He had a game-high 20. Rutgers certainly has to come up with a couple more wins heading down the stretch to just make sure that when they're sitting there on Selection Sunday, that they definitely see their name pop up there. But right now, you talk about bubble teams, and you talk about Villanova, and you talk about Syracuse in the Big East. Well, Rutgers right now has a higher RPI than both those teams. They beat Syracuse in their only meeting, and they've split with Villanova. So Rutgers in a pretty good position right now.
And question on St. John's. You know, Mike Jarvis.
And it's Rutgers team for a second. It was a team that not long ago came back against BC down 10 at the half. They come back and they win a game, and things are certainly getting a lot more exciting down there at the Rec. People are enjoying it. They've got young blood coming in. I think that Dante Jones is going to be just a superlative player as he moves on in his career. He's a great athlete now and really making strides this year. You know, Rashad Kent is a guy that also is a big part of things. You see see Greer on the outside. Billett, Hodgson is the rock for this team. They got the opportunity, if they get in there, specifically to make some waves in the Big East tournament, first of all. And if they get into the NCAA tournament, they can probably play with a lot of the teams they're going to be paired up with.
Well, the biggest reason is they have a lot of depth, and they share the ball as well. I mean, you don't have one guy that you have to key on to stop Rutgers, because if you take away a Dante Jones, they get the ball inside to Rashad Kent. When you hit 70% of your shots, throw it in there. And then when Jeff Greer's starting to hit from the outside, Billett had a good game the other night. You always have the opportunity to be able to get some points out in transition, because Kevin Bannon's teams always defend very well. So yeah, this is a team that can beat you from a number of different positions in a lot of different ways.
I don't think there's a lot of people that expected coming into the year that this was going to be a team potentially that was going to be a top 25 RPI team in the last 2 weeks of February. Kevin Bannon's done a terrific job.
He's done a great job in rebuilding that, getting excitement. He's done a great job with recruiting. Look at this freshman class. I mean, this is going to be the third straight year that Rutgers is going to have at least one player on the all-rookie team in the conference, and you can make a case that, and Dante Jones is going to be that guy. You can make a case for Rashad Kent. I mean, again, you make 70% of your shots inside. It's pretty good numbers there.
Let's go to Ewing next on the